Chapter 3. I woke up to the sound of my phone ringing. It was my homie Xant calling to tell me some fools were down at the park, disrespecting our gang and calling us out. I said okay and got suited up, and exited my base with everything I needed to survive the day. I was worried about the patrols on the road, but usually they can never catch up to me when I drift off into the woods. I followed the train tracks into the A ward, which is where my local hoverboard park is located. There I spotted Xant and some other members I knew battling it out with a bunch of goons trying to take their stuff and set up camp at the park. I pulled up and got between them before things got messy. One of the goons was wearing a gray leather coat and approached me and told me this park was their territory now and that we had to leave. In fact, they were all wearing gray coats with a strange symbol that looked similar to a mosquito. I had nothing to say, so I punched him and told him to leave before the patrols stormed the park. They didn't understand how bad it could get. The patrols weren't playing fair anymore because their supply and resources are developing slower with us and everyone under lockdown. They still insisted that they were part of a new order finding places and locking them down, and that the patrols would be no match for them and their leader, who had found a new mutation. I wasn't believing any of it, and I already wanted my friends and I to return back to base before too many animals and patrols gathered to send us to the inevitable void. Even worse, they weren't backing down, so we began fighting on our boards, flying through the park's courses. They had a few guns and projectile weapons that they tried to use against us, but they were no match for our techniques on our boards, and we moved in on them and destroyed their boards one by one and sent them off. One of the guy's boards was still working and he tried to slam me, but I ended up throwing my knife into the magnetic gears of his board, and it exploded under his feet. His comrades picked him up, and they fled back to wherever they came from. After all was done, I met back up with Xant, Quanklin, Zephyr, and Keikel to see if they were dead yet, but all was good and the sun was setting. We sold and exchanged meds, and parted ways before the patrols came to check out the noise we had made from the fight. I hated leaving the park, but the new world made it seem so hard to do anything fun anymore. It was all about survival. Before heading back to the C ward, which is where my base is located, I stopped to the store to see if they had any food to supply my base with. I still lived with my parents and my 3 brothers, so I never missed the opportunity to stop in and grab some grub to toss in the pantry. As I approached the store building, the patrolmen were busy fending off wild rats attracted to the smell of the food. So I tiptoed into the building, slipped past them, and greeted the clerks. The selection was okay, but nothing is made and shipped as fast anymore as it used to be. You might see a candy bar on the shelf once a year before another box makes it back to whatever store, if you survived long enough to make it anyways. But I ended up grabbing a few cans of fruit and vegetables and raw sugar to put back into my base, and slipped out before the patrolmen could use their advanced laser tech weapons to shake me down for everything I just bought. But one mistake I had made was not going home straight away anyways, because it was dark out now, and I had already broken my one rule about taking chances most definitely. Even worse, the food was most definitely smellable in the duffel bag they gave me. I was pushing my board as fast as I could, but I started seeing more glowing eyes appear out of the woods more than ever before. Then the worst happened. A patrol roadblock ahead was set for anybody entering back into the C ward. It was too late for me to turn back into the A ward and stay with my friends till morning, so I slipped off the road into the woods where I'd be surrounded by just about anything and everything that wants to eat me and what I have in my bag. It was bad, but I kept moving steadily, dodging trees and watching for anything that wants to make its move on me. It wasn't easy inching closer and closer, but just as I was about 5 minutes out from my base, I heard something jump out of a bush behind me, and I tried to drift my board and dodge, but it was too late. A large foot had reached my back, and I went flying through the trees onto the street. I got up and blood was leaking from the palms of my hands from taking impact. I got to my feet and drew my sword as fast as I could, but I couldn't believe it. A large rabbit had mutated to be just about half my size and wanted to fight me. I gripped my sword in agony and prepared for the next attack. The rabbit's red glowing eyes twitched and it jumped out at me with all of its might, aiming its left foot at my head. I dodged it and was able to slash the rabbit's back with the tip of my sword. The rabbit screamed and fled off with some of the food that flew out of the duffel bag. After it left, I gathered everything and rode back to my base on my board, where I tended to my wounds and put the supply in storage. Then I laid down, closed my eyes, and waited for daylight to break. I was too tired to do anything but sleep the pain away with some good old meds to hold me down.